Breaking news, there has been an algae bloom reported in Utah Lake. It is said to be toxic. In order to avoid becoming sick from it, do not drink or swim in contaminated water, and do not eat fish that may have come in contact with contaminated water. We will be back later with more information on Channel 1 News.
Hi, my name is Kacie Williams, and I'm a biologist at the NIEHS. Right now we're working to find solutions on stopping algae blooms. Algae is a microscopic protist which is mostly harmless, but there can be some harmful algae blooms. An algae bloom is when algae overtakes a body of water and emits toxins, harming the ecosystem. Algae can be spread in many ways. The most common ways for it to be spread are by wind, currents, storms, and ships. Are you wondering what causes algae to bloom? It's caused by excessive amounts of nutrients such as nitrates and phosphates in the water. Favorable conditions for algae to grow are in warm temperatures and water with low salinity. Algae damages the ecosystem by blocking light from reaching other aquatic plants, killing aquatic organisms, and decreases the oxygen supply in the water.
Hi, my name is Sophie Roberts, reporting to you back on the situation here at Utah Lake. More than 100 people have reported symptoms of headaches, vomiting, and rashes. Toxins released from the cyanobacteria and algae are believed to have caused these symptoms.
Hi, my name is Lorin Pressley. I'm an environmental health specialist, so I try to make sure the environment is safe for all the inhabitants. Part of my job is to inform the public about health risks, and that's what I'm about to do. I'm going to tell about harmful algae blooms. Two of the major harmful algae species are red tide and Pfiesteria. They're both dinoflagellates. Cyanobacteria is often found within the algae. The toxins include dermatoxins, hepatotoxins, and neurotoxins. Alinobin toxin is an example of dermatoxin. It can cause skin irritation, rashes, and even organ damage. Asaxitoxin is an example of a neurotoxin. It can cause numbness, paralysis, and seizures. Chylindrospermocin and mitricins are examples of hepatotoxins. They can cause liver damage, tumors, and even death. Some diseases like ALS and dementia are caused by neurotoxins. Have been found similar effects as to Alzheimer's, where scientists have found amyloid protein clumps and tangles found in the neurofiber. You may be asking, how do you get intoxicated? Well, you can get intoxicated doing a lot of things. Swimming in contaminated water, any recreational activity in contaminated water, or just drinking contaminated water can all get you sick. Sometimes the illnesses caused by algal blooms can also become airborne.
Hello again, it's Sophie Roberts, and I am on the air to do an informational segment on algae blooms. There have been many outbreaks in the U.S. and all around the world. Right here in North Carolina, records started being taken of algae blooms after the red tide outbreak of 1987. It caused 350,000 acres of water to be closed, and officials realized that it was a major issue. The impact cost an estimated $37.6 million. $80.3 million was lost from commercial fishing, while other $29.3 million was from recreational and tourism, which was only 1.9% of the money made from tourism that year. Currently, in North Carolina, there is a small outbreak in the Tar and Pamlico rivers. There is also a current outbreak in more than 30 California lakes, which is emitted microcystin. In 2015, an outbreak of pseudonychia occurred on the West Coast. A neurotoxin called domoic acid was found, which caused sea lions to beach themselves and may have killed more than 30 large whales. The West Coast outbreak majorly impacted the fishing and crabbing industry.
There's also toxins that affect aquatic life as well. Shellfish are the most commonly affected. When humans fish these shellfish and then eat them, they can get sick too. There's diarrheal shellfish poisoning, neurotoxic shellfish poisoning, and paralytic shellfish poisoning. When the algae blooms are in the water, it usually turns green. There's always algae in the water, but since they're a microscopic plant that are not seen to the naked eye, you cannot see them until it grows into an algal bloom. When the algal bloom moves, it creates toxins that stay in the water or become airborne. Fish start to die from being intoxicated, and the oxygen is depleted from the water because of the algae.
What do we do when an algae bloom is present? A white sign is usually posted explaining what an algae bloom bloom looks like and alerting people to watch out for them. An orange sign can be added warning people of the algae bloom that is growing in the water and telling people that getting in the water is not advised. A red sign is then added to tell people not to get in the water if the algae bloom is serious and can cause damage to a human. A warning may also be issued to the public water system if the toxins in the water get too high and it is not safe to use or drink. If you see a harmful algae bloom, do not get in the water or let children or any pets enter the water. If a child or pet gets ill from the water, take them to a doctor immediately.
I'm back to report the effects that Hurricane Matthew had on algae blooms across the East Coast. It caused 11 North Carolina hog waste lagoons to be flooded. These lagoons are isolated because all of the nitrates and other nutrients in the waste cause a lot of algae blooms to occur in North Carolina. The overflow of the lagoons will cause more algae blooms and damage aquatic plants and animal life. The waste also contains lots of bacteria and viruses, not just nutrients. Scientists believe that Hurricane Matthew is helping to break up the algae blooms, causing it to be less concentrated and less aggressive. However, this is not helpful. It isn't helpful because by breaking up the algae, it has just caused it to spread more, ultimately creating even more problems. I invited Kacie Williams to the show. She is a microbiologist. She studies algae with the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences.
We've interviewed one of my colleagues, Mr. Fred Tyson from the NIEHS.
When asked how algae blooms could be prevented, he said, "Harmful algae bloom events are naturally occurring events and are probably no more preventable than hurricanes or tornadoes. They are going to happen. However, it appears that human activities can be associated with the increase in frequency and persistence through agricultural activities that increase nutrient supply to bodies of water where the various algae species live and reproduce. What is currently more effective than preventing algae bloom events from happening is to develop a better understanding of the geophysical and environmental conditions that favor bloom events and developing improved forecasting systems that will help prevent exposure to bloom toxins."
He also feels that the primary cause of algae bloom, specifically in North Carolina, is fertilizers and animal waste from concentrated agricultural feeding operations may be the primary source for increased levels of nitrates and phosphates that stimulate the algal growth and contribute to bloom events. I have been working on a solution to stop algae blooms for years, or at least trying to come up with an efficient way to prevent them. Here's my method. In order to get rid of algae, they must be starved of light. Without the light, algae will not be able to go through the process of photosynthesis. They also must be starved of nutrients, such as waste, that seems to be appearing in many bodies of water. A way to starve them of nutrients is by artificial desertification, which reduces the sediment phosphorus load available to the algae. Finding ways to help farmers pay for changes needed to stop phosphorus from washing into rivers and lakes in the first place is required. This includes adding rain barrels or rain gardens to help stop runoff from returning into the lakes for algae blooms to feed off of. Introducing native algae-eating fish can help get rid of the algae without harming the environment around it. The process of excessive nutrients entering the water, called eutrophication, is a naturally occurring, slow process but can be rapidly accelerated by pollution and human actions. Other ways to stop algae blooms are to drain waste, increase oxygen content, add mollusks or other organisms that multiply quickly to feed on algae, mixing algae deeper into the water which will deprive them of sunlight, or injecting aluminum compounds can help lower phosphorus levels in the water. Please do everything possible to eliminate algae blooms from occurring in the environment, and please be aware of the health risks that they present.
Thank you, Kacie, for that valuable information. I'm Sophie Roberts, and thank you for watching Channel 1 News.